Hello again, Michael Ware with the Iowa Firearms Coalition. We've got a panel of IFC volunteers here today. We want to talk about the lawsuit that's going on at the time of this video. And let's just jump right into that. But first, we wanted some introductions. Again, Michael Ware, IFC board chairman. We'll start with you first, Ashley. Can you tell us who you are and what you do and why?
I'm Ashley Matthews, and I'm a content director, so I'm sending out a lot of emails, doing a lot of social media stuff, sending cards and letters to people, pushing events by mail, by email, all that fun stuff. Been doing it for about 2 years now, so I'm enjoying it and pretty passionate about this. So,
thank you. What about you, Dylan?
I am the communications director, and I just accepted the role of secretary. So looking forward to see what all that entails.
Billy, introduce yourself.
I'm Billy Wilson. I'm the new gun show director. So I've been a volunteer for the IFC for a few years and now looking to get more involved and help support the Second Amendment.
Fantastic. So just for you guys watching out there, Ashley and Dylan are going to be the people you're going to want to reach out to if you have graphic design skills or graphic artistry skills, computer skills. We always need some of that help at IFC, whether it's video editing, Photoshop, those kinds of things, and everything that's in the digital realm. We always need help for that, and we're looking for that. As far as gun show volunteers, if you want to come out and hop on at a gun show and work a few hours, Billy's the guy that you'll need to visit with. He'll get you set up on a schedule, or you should just come out and shadow for a little bit and see what that consists of. Can you spend some time with these people and glean some good communication skills, or figure out what we do and how we do it, because we reach a lot of people that walk by. I mean, the gun show is or the events in general are places where lots and lots of like-minded people come by, and it's an opportunity to communicate two-way. So Billy's a good contact for that. Let's get right into the core of the matter. In Iowa, the preemption law was brought on board many years ago. For those of you that don't understand what preemption is, it basically says a political subdivision, and in this case, Iowa doesn't have parishes and some things like that that some states have. So for our purposes, political subdivision is usually considered a county or a city. So a political subdivision isn't able to make a law that's more harsh or more restrictive than state law. And Iowa's had that on the books for a lot of years. They do that in other regards rather than just firearms. But I don't remember which date for sure, but back in the early 90s, the legislature put on the books firearm preemption. And then basically, from what I can tell and from what I can gather, it was largely ignored by many counties and many cities. So in 2000, I believe I'm right about that, they came back and shored preemption up again. And by shored up, I mean they strengthened it and made the law more clear. They made the language in the law more self-evident. So that somebody reading it could easily understand it, wouldn't be misinterpreted. That didn't seem to work because cities and counties ignored it and basically sought to silence or otherwise curtail your civil liberties. And so in 2017, the legislature came back and did it again and said, yes, we really, really mean it. We want this, this, and this. And oh, by the way, we mean it so much, we're going to put in code standing. Basically what that means is if you go into one of these political subdivisions that has a policy that's restrictive or overly restrictive compared to the state code, then that political subdivision is on the hook instantly for something bad that happens to you. So if something outrageous happened and you could have used a firearm or something along those lines to prevent this thing from happening, then you show up and with a lawyer and they get out their checkbook and write a check, a big one. And so that's pretty serious from a legislative perspective. For them to put standing in the law, that means that they really, 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 really mean it. And they're putting a bounty on it by saying, don't do this because you're automatically wrong if you do this and somebody's hurt by it. And apparently that wasn't enough. So in 2020, last year, a preemption was strengthened again, and they made it very clear. You have, as a political subdivision, there's a fork in the road. So if you choose to keep this gun-free zone, well, actually it says you can't do things like that. You can't limit somebody's self-defense virtue on the property. But if you choose to have that policy, then you've got to have something in place that's tangible. So whether it be a deputy, an armed guard, whatever it may be, or a metal detector and some sort of screening, you have to do something tangible to ensure safety. And essentially, in layman's terms, that's if I'm going to remove from you your right to self-defense and remove your tools, then I'm going to assume that liability by making sure that I make a genuine effort. Okay. So that's a fork in the road. So you don't have to have an armed guard. You don't have to do these things, and you don't have to incur an expense if you don't want to, but you do have to get your razor blade out and peel those stupid gun-free zone stickers off. Okay. So that brings us to Monroe County. Now, Dylan has a story that I'm sure he may share with us, or at least give us a brief excerpt on. But the short version is we had a member down in Monroe County that went and noticed that the Monroe County Courthouse had gun-free zone stickers all over it, and was clearly in violation of law. So he reached out to the Board of Supervisors, went to a meeting, conducted himself very well and appropriately, of course, and said, this is the problem. You're in violation of Iowa code. Let me show it to you. And this was the change. You may not be aware of it. It would be great if you could get in line with Iowa code, please and thank you. They basically told him to find a rope and urinate up it. So when that didn't work, he went to the local paper and said, I'd like to submit this op-ed piece, basically putting in text what he had said to the Board of Supervisors, and that didn't work again. So he reached out to us and said, is there any way you could help? So our lobbyist, Richard Rogers, is very, very good with the nuances of code and its understanding and explaining it. So he was an obvious choice to visit and correspond with their county attorney in Monroe, or Monroe's county attorney, rather. He did that. I thought that there was an understanding there, but apparently not, as not long afterwards, both our member and as an individual in Monroe County, as a local citizen, a taxpayer, and IFC were both named in a lawsuit or being sued. And we can't seem to figure out why. We're not entirely sure, but we know that we had the audacity to tell them that they were breaking the law and they had not to. So apparently today, then this is transcended being a Second Amendment issue, and it's now a First Amendment issue. So if you criticize government, they can sue you, or they're going to make every attempt. So that's where we're at now. As of the time of this recording, we haven't been seen in court yet. Our hope was that they would withdraw, or there would be some sort of dismissal right away. So I guess we'll see what happens. Ashley, any thoughts on the matter? We'll go with you first.
It's just kind of concerning. I mean, any advocacy group out there who's trying to fight for the rights of its citizens, be it, LGBT rights or I don't know, anything. It's scary to think that if you push back even just a little bit, you're facing a lawsuit. That's a really big deal. And I just wonder what, if anything, other advocacy groups could do. I mean, to kind of think ahead and think of that this could happen to them too.
Well, it's funny that you mention it like that, because as we inhabit what I would call cancel culture, if you say things that one group or another don't like, then one group tends to label or figure out a way or try to alienate the other group. And that's not really what we have here. We don't have a squabbling among groups or people that, two groups that oppose one another. We have a group, or an individual in this case, or both, that said, listen, you're in clear violation of the law. We don't want you to be. I don't want you to be. You had not to be. Can you change this? And we're not talking about snarky letters or threats or things like that. We're talking about real decent, civil, well thought out please and thank yous, that kind of thing. And the idea that like, as you said, whether it's an LGBT group, whether it's a firearms advocacy group, whether it's anybody talking especially about civil liberties, that the government can say, no, we don't want to hear from you, and we're going to sue you to put a gag over you because we can't stand the criticism, we don't want it. I mean, that's about as bad as it gets. What do you think, Dylan?
I would agree with all that. I believe it's our duty as Americans or Iowans to hold our elected officials responsible, liable for all this stuff. It's a shame that this happens. What's going on here is a clear violation of the constitutional amendments, first and the second, two of the most important ones here. This member also, he had his home address, workplace, the fact he's a gun owner, the fact he has a permit to carry, which that's illegal for them to put out there like that. Many, possibly many other spots they could have violated, but yeah, I don't have a whole lot. It's a frustrating issue.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I don't know if everybody gets an opportunity to watch through some of the videos on the YouTube channel, but I've had a couple now. I think one's published and one's forthcoming. Discussions with Naren Brown. He runs the Well Armed Progressive. Black man, lives in Northern Iowa. Is quickly becoming a really good friend of mine. It's a little odd that me as a core conservative and him as a core progressive have so much in common, but we really share almost completely everything in terms of the Second Amendment. And when I was explaining this to him, his thoughts were the same as mine. He's like, listen, we used to do this a long time ago. We used to use the power of government to silence people. And he said, and we called it Jim Crow then. And I said, well, you're right. That's what we used to do. And we're not supposed to be doing that anymore. But it seems like it makes or it manifests itself through other means. And that bothers the heck out of me. We're supposed to have been better than that. We were supposed to have recognized all these flaws and dealt with them and changed them and moved on. And not everybody does. I'm glad that we live in America. I'm glad that we live in Iowa, in a place where we say, okay, this was wrong. And we recognize that we're going to right that problem. We're going to right the course of the ship, and off we go. And to enter back into that, not only is that a step backwards, but that's a heck of a slap in the face to a lot of people. So, Billy, what do you think?
I agree with all you guys. It's, I guess, simple enough. It's a violation of the First Amendment right. I mean, we can't pick and choose what laws we follow, right? So the government can't either. And for a citizen just to say, hey, guys, the law states either you protect me, put up precautions so that I can walk into that place protected, or I get to protect myself. And it's, no, we're going to sue you. You're going to shut up. So it's asinine. I don't understand it.
I agree. I've talked about it with a lot of people. We've seen people come to our website. There have been a lot of questions. I mean, and actually we've gotten a lot of support. I mean, we're not good, I don't think, as an advocacy group. This is a criticism I have of IFC, and we're trying to get better. Is that your puppy?
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, that's all right. Those are always welcome. As an advocacy group, I believe that we're getting better about being able to ask for help, being able to ask for donations and membership. But we haven't typically been the organization that shows up with a handout. And everybody listening to this knows what that's like. It's very tough. Even as a kid, I didn't like to go do trick or treat for UNICEF. I don't know if everybody remembers that. I didn't even like going to do that because, we grew up not asking for help, you know what I mean? But the organization does benefit from membership, and we need that. It would benefit from donations, both to the IFC itself and certainly into the IFC PAC. So we've seen a lot of that in the last few days, and we obviously appreciate that continuing. But beyond that, I mean, you have to keep, as you mentioned earlier, Ashley, organizations have to keep some money in the bank. They have to, because when these things kind of come up, you can't run down to the corner and pick up a lawyer that maybe does probate for a living, is a good example. He may not be the best person. You may have a relationship with him, and maybe he'd be easy on you in terms of billable hours or rate, but he's not going to be the best person to deal with something like this, probably. So you've got to keep some money in the bank as an advocacy group, so that when things like this come up, and these are things that we used to not have to account for, but we are now, you've got to be able to pay for some of these things, and it's not cheap. I don't know what this is going to cost, but it's going to be a lot. So in terms of, I guess, answering a question or touching on what you mentioned earlier, actually, one of the things that we can do is fly straight and narrow and be as decent as you can be. And I believe that we have been. it's all going to be in court documents at some point. So everything that we've had to say is going to be discoverable, and people are going to be able to see it. And I've got no problem with that. I mean, we're supposed to be, transparent. Well, going to be. But the short version is you've got to have some money saved back. And if I remember right, and we're going to touch on something here that I think I can remember all this, the Larned Waterman Center over at University of Iowa puts out a series of documents that regard best practices for nonprofit organizations, and the Secretary of State advises that you follow those, and their best practices guide, I think the freshest one is out of 2016, something like that, recommends that you keep 1/3 of your annual turn in the bank at any given time. So if you're an advocacy group that turns $10,000 a year, you need to have $3,000 in the bank at any given time, and you can just do the ratios from there. So I would tell any advocacy group out there, you need to adhere to things like that, because set up an emergency fund, because apparently when you do your job and you critique government, they'll bring their power to silence you, and they had not to, but sometimes they are, and we're experiencing it right now. Our members experiencing it. I mean, it's one thing to be a part of an organization that gets sued. It's another thing to be an individual and have a deputy walk into your place of business, hand you a court document. And I don't know if any of you people have seen those. I mean, I'm dating myself a little bit when I say this, but they read like some 1978 Betamax VCR setup instructions. I mean, I'm looking at this document. I don't know what this thing is. I can't tell exactly what this says, but I do know that it's bad. Yeah. Anything that when it says Monroe County versus you, nobody wants to see that, because we get the impression right away that these people have unlimited resources. They're government. I mean, they tax and spend. It's not good. So that's scary, and it's wrong. Anyone?
Yeah. Cancel culture is definitely, it's not just digital. It seeps into real life. This is real life, and this is time consuming. This is time away from our families. This is time, this is money. It's going to be a haul, but
yeah. Well, it's not good. We want to get a video up so that people had an idea what was happening, for those that weren't able to read down through the blog, or didn't glean as much from it as maybe we had hoped. We've been on the radio. I can put some links to those in this YouTube video as well. I think that'll help. But I guess one of the asks that I would have is go by iowafc.org, read the blog, understand what's going on. You can subscribe to the blog as well. And there are places on our website, which we built new not that long ago, which has been really helpful. I'm glad that we have a site that's up and does much better, because the one we had before was very antiquated. So we've put these things up with features that you can use. And so you can subscribe to our email system. We'd love to have you for a member. We'd love your donations, and especially to the PAC. And if you're not paying attention to what our primary mode of operation is, it revolves around legislation and things that stem from legislation. So we have a separate website, and that's IFC PAC. That's our ifcpac.org. And you can go there and follow the legislation that we're part of, track your legislator to see if they've been handling themselves well and voting properly, and what they voted yes on and what they voted no on, and their scoring, because we're rating them in terms of their performance. You can make a donation to the PAC over there. So I spoke earlier about IFC not being good at asking for things. That's what we're asking for, is your membership primarily, and your donation secondarily to either one or both of those things. So we'll keep putting these videos out. We'll try and keep you informed as best we can. The website is always the best source of information, and you can find us on social media just about everywhere. So is there anything that I missed, or what are we looking at, guys? Is there anything else you want to add?
I'd say just awareness. I mean, this is what this is about, right? Big government putting somebody in their place, and 4 of us, 5 of us, 100 of us, the more people speak out and just have a discussion about this. Do you see what's going on in Monroe County, what they're doing? And this is how it spreads and puts big government back in their place, where they go, okay, we serve you and we follow the law as you do. That's what we got to do, is just have this discussion everywhere. Talk to your friends, coworkers. It just needs to get out and spread.
You're right about that.
Yeah. I think this is happening everywhere. Just Monroe County was able to shoot themselves in the foot pretty good. So,
Well, I'm feel pretty confident about our position and where we're at it, but I'm telling you, you never know. A lot of judges are telling people or are pushing quietly in many different ways on making their areas gun-free zones. And so I will tell you, although I believe that the law is clearly on our side, and I am still trying to figure out what this Monroe County Board of Supervisors and their county attorney actually thought by doing this. The reality is I'm supposed to walk in front of a judge that probably doesn't agree with me and disagrees with my very existence and what we hope to do here. And I'm supposed to ask this person for justice. Well, I've got news for you. The statue of Lady Justice being blindfolded is BS. We like to think that way, but we're human beings. We're prone to error. We have feelings, and you can't fully omit that. So we're about to walk in front of a judge and say, will you let us do what the law says? And oh, by the way, we know that that's not what you want at all. So
Yep.
I'm cautiously optimistic, but I'm telling you, things slide sideways when you go to court. Now, there's a risk associated with that. So we didn't pick this fight. We didn't want to be in it, but we're in it now. We're going to take it. So Billy's right. Tell everybody you know and let them know what's going on. Direct them this video, direct them to IFC. Help us out. So Ashley, any parting thoughts?
Just thanks for all those that have reached out in the past couple of days. We really appreciate it.
Agreed. All right. I think that's it for now. We'll, like as I said, we want to get some new fresh faces on here. I'm a pretty person, but my smile has limits. So it's nice to see some of the younger folks and their volunteerism. So we want everybody to understand that this is an organization that goes through generations. So we're looking forward to more volunteers and on many levels. So we would gladly take those things as well. I guess that's it. Signing off for now. Michael Ware with IFC and the whole crew here. Again, Ashley, Dylan, Billy, thank you guys. We appreciate it.
thank you.
Thanks.